from JetBlue Park in Fort Myers, Florida, NESN presents Boston Red Sox baseball. Tonight, Grapefruit League action as the Red Sox play host to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hello and welcome, everyone. Tom Karen in for Dave O'Brien tonight. Jerry Remy with us, as always. Remdog, 10 days until opening day in Cleveland. Starting to get a pretty good feel for what this starting lineup will look like. Blake Swihart, the starter behind the plate, burst onto the scene last year when injuries gave him the opportunity. He made the most of it offensively.
Well, you're exactly right, CC. You know, here's a kid that probably would have spent most of the year in AAA last year. Instead, he was getting to learn the position at the big league level, and I think that was huge for him coming into this spring training, because all that valuable experience he learned last year, catching behind the plate, learning the Red Sox pitching staff, learning the hitters in the American League, I think has really helped him out in 1 year's time. Now, we know he can swing the bat. He did that very well, especially in the second half of the season last year, and the Red Sox have known that for a long time. But it was a defense I think he had to work on a little bit, particularly blocking balls in the dirt instead of trying to catch them. He's done that. He's worked very hard this spring on that, and I think he's a much better defensive catcher right now than he was last year.
Yeah, like you said, no question about the offense. 303 he hit over the last 44 games of the season. He'll be catching David Price in this one tonight. Travis Shaw will be starting at third base. Paulo Sandoval, day-to-day, shelved with a minor injury. We'll get to the latest on that when we come back with Garen Austin having the details as we get ready for baseball at JetBlue Park. First pitch coming up from Fort Myers. Stay with us.
How fast is it?
A humid Friday night here in Southwest Florida. The rain came through earlier today, but it looks like we're good to go. A little Friday night baseball here on NESN, and the Pittsburgh Pirates coming to town. Jody Mercer is the leadoff hitter. Francisco Cervelli, David Freese, Starling Marte, Jason Rogers, Josh Harrison, Gregory Polanco, Tito Polo in right field, and Ryan Vogelsong, the pitcher, will be hitting ninth in a National League lineup. Of course, the Red Sox will have the designated hitter, and it'll be David Price going up against the Pirates tonight. Price, the ace of the staff, is ready to go for the start here tonight. He pitched against Red Sox minor leaguers last time around, but he has pitched well in Grapefruit League play, Jerry.
Now let's take a look at the Red Sox defense. Travis Shaw will be at third base, Xander Bogaerts the shortstop, Dustin Pedroia at second, Hanley Ramirez the first baseman, left to right, Brock Holt, Rusney Castillo, and Chris Young, and Blake Swihart doing the catching for David Price.
Ready to get this started as the leadoff hitter, Jody Mercer, steps up to the plate. The shortstop hitting .306 this spring for the Pittsburgh Pirates. As David Price looks in. Big lefty gets the game started, just missing outside. As we said, he last pitched against Red Sox minor leaguers on Sunday, striking out 8 over 5 scoreless innings. 2 Grapefruit League starts. Hasn't picked up a win here in Florida yet, but he's got a 3.86 earned run average, 9 strikeouts, just 1 walk in 7 innings of work, Jerry.
Yeah, the last time I was against the Yankees, I was on the 15th in a regular game here in spring training. And in that ball game, no walks and 6 strikeouts in 4 innings for Price.
He's got one more start after this, so this is usually the start where you look for a major league starter to be close to ready for the regular season, right? We saw Joe Kelly go up 95 pitches yesterday. Expect Price to go deep into this one.
That's exactly right. Then they'll back off just a little bit in his next outing, which will be the last one before they break camp for the opener in Cleveland.
That would be the penultimate start here in spring training for David Price. A word I learned as a child from the great Ned Martin. He used to always say penultimate.
I have heard it many times.
Polanco ground ball over at third base. It is Shaw, but the ball is foul. Travis Shaw, the third baseman, and talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about a potential battle for third base between Travis Shaw, who's been hot throughout the spring, and Pablo Sandoval. Sandoval right now on the shelf with lower back pain. We'll have a report from Garen Austin on that in just a couple of moments, but back pain or not for Sandoval, hard to ignore those numbers. .419 batting average for Travis Shaw as David Price gets the strikeout to start the night.
That looks like the changeup that time from Price. You know, from Price you'll see the fastball, the changeup, a cutter, and an occasional curveball. But this is definitely the changeup. It was supposed to be away. It stayed out over the plate, but the key is it was down and no contact by Mercer.
So one down here in the first, and the former Yankee Francisco Cervelli now in his second year with the Pirates. Cervelli hitting .280 here in the preseason, hit .295 last year with the Pirates. First pitch swinging in a base hit to left field.
Now, when Cervelli was with the New York Yankees, I used to call him the pest because that's all he was a pest back there against the Boston Red Sox, and he continues that here tonight. Jumps on that first pitch, and a guy that's got a really good relationship with his pitching staff, Cervelli.
Yeah, you remember that 2014 season, hit .301 with the Yankees. I think he hit about .380 against the Red Sox.
I know, it was unbelievable.
That'll bring up David Freese, the third baseman tonight. Freese trying to catch up for lost time here. Didn't sign until March 11th. Was kind of hanging out there in that free agent game of musical chairs. The former World Series hero of the St. Louis Cardinals, ultimately signing a one-year deal with the Pirates for less than half of what he made last year with the Angels. Remember, he got traded to the Angels, spent 2 years in Anaheim, and then hit free agency, but the market kind of closed up on him. Ahead of the count 2-0. Was a legend there in 2011 in St. Louis, right? 12 hits and a Major League Baseball record 21 postseason RBI. Was the MVP of the National League Championship Series, MVP of the World Series. Got moved to the Angels. With the Angels this offseason, decided to go with Yunel Escobar. And Freese found himself on the outside looking in as he fouls this one off.
That's a good sign right there for Price. I mean, he comes with a fastball on the 2-0 count when the hitter is expecting a fastball, and still Freese was late on it, fouling it off down that first base side. Generally, you like to see hitters in that count be ahead of the pitch, and if you're going to pull it foul to the left side if you're a right-handed hitter.
(2-1) from Price. High. So Freese gets ahead 3-1. David Price getting ready for his first regular season in a Red Sox uniform, has thrown 200 innings in 5 of the last 6 seasons. He is, in every sense of the word, an ace, and that is why the Red Sox signed him to that 7-year contract this offseason. But he misses here, and he will walk Cervelli to put 2 on with 1 out here in the first. Just the second walk issued this spring by Price. You take a look at his numbers in 2015, the lowest ERA in the American League. 2012 Cy Young Award winner, has finished in the top 2 in that voting in 3 of the last 6 years. He had 220 innings last season, a workhorse. The guy that a lot of people, Jerry, seem to think bucks that trend. You can give this guy a long-term contract because of the way he goes about his business and the shape he keeps himself in.
Yeah, and he was here very, very early in spring training for the Red Sox. Has fit in right away. I mean, he's really been a great teammate. And, that's something you don't know when you're facing a guy, across the diamond. And then when you see him in action every day, it really makes a huge difference. So when you see how he interacts with people, how he tries to help people, I mean, he's very, very much involved.
Facing the cleanup hitter, Starling Marte, and Marte has been as hot as anybody in the Pittsburgh uniform, hitting .406. But here, kind of jam shot, no problem for Pedroia, so 2 down in the first.
Yeah, Marte, a very good player, and that time Price was able to get inside on him and just kind of pushing that ball off to Dustin Pedroia at second base.
So 2 down now for Jason Rogers, the first baseman. He's a Milwaukee Brewer last year, hit .296 with the Brewers, acquired by Pittsburgh through a trade back in December. Most of his damage last year for Milwaukee off the bench. Led the team with 13 pinch hits and a couple of pinch hit home runs. Takes a call, first strike there. Rogers hitting .229 so far in Grapefruit League play for Pittsburgh. Third of 4 meeting between these two teams this spring as Price gets ahead of him 0-2.
I started him with a changeup and then back to the outside part of the plate with the fastball to quickly get ahead. No balls and 2 strikes.
A single to Cervelli, a walk to Freeze, but 2 down now for David Price as he tries to get out of the first. The 0-2. Tries to get up the chase. Price has had an ERA of 3.5 or under each of the last 6 seasons. Clayton Kershaw, the only other pitcher in baseball who can say that. Ground ball, Pedroia flips it to Bogarts for the final out of the inning. So a hit, a walk, but no damage. We head to the bottom of the first, scoreless here in Fort Myers. We're here, bottom of the first, Jet Blue Park at Fenway South of Fort Myers, Florida, where the Red Sox will come to bat. The lineup tonight, Brock Holt in left field. An interesting development there that we'll talk about. Dustin Pedroia at second, Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop. David Ortiz, the designated hitter. Hanley Ramirez at first. Travis Shaw across the diamond at third. Chris Young in right field. Brusney Castillo in center, and Blake Swihart behind the plate. They will be facing Ryan Vogelsong, who's facing the Red Sox for the third time this spring. No secrets here in this one. Two-time World Series champ with the San Francisco Giants. And you see what he did last season with the Giants. 9 wins, an ERA at 4.67. 265 opponent's batting average. He's in a battle here with New Hampshire's own Jeff Locke and Nicasio for the final 2 spots in the rotation. They like the way Vogelsong has been pitching so far here at spring training.
Garrett Cole is their ace on this staff. He became the ace last year, and of course Francisco Liriano also on this staff. But they do have some battles, as you mentioned, TC, for a couple of spots in the rotation. This Pittsburgh Pirate team, a very good team in a very tough division.
The former Pittsburgh Pirate Brock Holt leading off for the Red Sox. Holt, the left fielder tonight, Jerry, and a lot of people talking about the opportunity there in left field. Rusney Castillo once again having a slow start here in spring training. We know Chris Young will be part of the mix, but as you try to find a place for an all-star like Brock Holt to play, left field might be that place when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and he's been seeing quite a bit of action there recently in games here in spring training, and you know, John Farrell was talking about that today in his press conference, how he's going to use Brock Holt. He's going to get him a certain amount of at-bats during the season. And it looks like left field may be an option for him right now.
Yeah, John Farrell didn't back away from that at the preseason.
No, he didn't.
Said there could be the opportunity for him to get a lot of at-bats out there. Out ahead of this one, staying alive, the count at 2-2. That's one of those rare trades, Jerry, that worked out for both sides, didn't it? Melanson's become one of the best closers in the National League, and Brock Holt ends up playing in the All-Star game last year.
Yeah, Melanson's been absolutely spectacular for the Pittsburgh Pirates since being there. Of course, we all know what Brock Holt's done for the Red Sox.
But he was the throw-in, right? The deal wasn't for Brock Holt.
Right.
That's how these things end up happening. Mike Lowell, of course, the throw-in in the Josh Beckett deal, winds up being a World Series MVP.
Although Song just missing the outside corner that time with a changeup to run the count to 3-2 against Holt. So good job by Holt in the leadoff spot, running that count 3 balls, 2 strikes.
And he'll take a ball 4, so a leadoff walk for Brock Holt here as we take a look at the Pittsburgh defense, Jerry.
They'll have David Freese on at third base, Jordy Mercer the shortstop, Josh Harrison at second, and Jason Rogers the first baseman. Left to right, Greg Lee Polanco, Starling Marte, and Tito Polo will be in right field. Francisco Cervelli doing the catching.
We were talking to some of the Pittsburgh people, pretty excited about Tito Polo getting the start in right field tonight. I believe first major league appearance in preseason camp.
Yeah, called him up for the minor league camp. Andrew McCutchen with a slight injury and did not make the trip down here to Fort Myers tonight, so Tito Polo gets the call.
He was in the initial lineup that they posted up in the clubhouse back in, where are they, Bradenton?
Yes.
Where's Pittsburgh? Bradenton? Yeah. So he was in the home clubhouse lineup that was posted, McCutchen, that is. And then a tight quad, Clint Hurdle telling us just a precautionary move. Some murmurs in the broadcast booth over to our left that that might have been a Gulf Coast caused tight quad.
I'm not buying that. You know, Bradenton's not that far of a ride,
on
right?
A Friday night?
Yeah, he gets Saturday off.
Andrew McCutchen, of course, a perennial all-star and really the anchor of the lineup for Clint Hurdle's team. They're talking about moving him up to the 2-hole this year. They've started to use some Saber metric type science to recreate their lineup as Pedroia pops up to first base in fair territory, caught there by Rogers for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, that was interesting, TC. We and I were speaking with Clint Hurdle prior to the ball game tonight and talking about different places in the lineup for different people, and he was mentioning the fact that, you know, it's not where you put them, it's how you relay the message to them to make them buy into it. And you had some great thoughts about the lineup. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, they found out, and Clint Hurdle was telling us that they've done all this research, and last year, Andrew McCutchen, who has only been a number 3 hitter since 2011, only Paul Goldschmidt down in Arizona had more 2-out and no one on at-bats than Andrew McCutchen. You're in that 3-hole. there's a chance certainly in the first inning you might get up with 2 outs and nobody on facing the starting pitcher. So they want to try to get him out of those 2 out, no one on, low RBI opportunities and try to get him in other situations. Moving him up to the 2-hole might do that. What did he say? He said it's like you come home and your wife has rearranged the furniture. You still got the same couch and the same chair, but you're trying to get more out of it.
That's a pretty good analogy, too. But again, the thing that makes that work is communication with the players. You just come in, win one day, and write a new lineup on the thing because everybody's wondering what the heck's going on.
Here's Xander Bogaerts now. You see his numbers last year, and a base hit to left field for Xander Bogaerts. So a little something happening here in the first for the Red Sox.
It'd be nice to see Xander these last, few days of spring training pick it up a little bit. 2-11 coming into the game today. Pulling this ball on a ball inside, hitting it very hard to the left side. And quickly by the third baseman, David Freese. So a couple of base runners for the Red Sox here in the first.
For David Ortiz. Big Papi with an opportunity to do something here. David Ortiz will be honored Monday in a ceremony here at JetBlue Park as Lee County says goodbye to a man who's called Fort Myers a spring training home for 20 years. Out of the way, that one from Vogelsong.
That'll get your attention right out of the chute. Fastball up and in, and Ortiz has to back away. Of course, the shift on the infield, not having the second baseman back on the grass, but on the dirt because the double play is in order.
Shortstop over on the right field of second base. Ortiz ahead 2-0. Pitch from Vogelsong. And with that shift, Holt heads up, takes third base. Doesn't even draw a throw as he knew it would be a tough play over there for Freese to get to the bat.
Yeah, it's a very heads-up play for Brock Holt because everybody's concentrating right now on the 2-0 count. You expect Ortiz to be swinging on that. There's Holt getting a good lead, nobody covering third base. By the time Freese gets there, it's too late. So good heads-up base running there by Brock Holt. And, of course, he did that on his own because Bogaerts stayed at first base. Had Bogaerts known he was going to do that, or if it was a sign that was put on, he obviously would have been off at first base.
Third base coach Brian Butterfield talking with Brock Holt. 3-0 the count now to Ortiz. Ground ball first base. And a foul ball as they had the out at first and were in the process of getting Bogaerts in a rundown. But instead of foul ball, we'll do it again.
Now you'll see this ball very close to being fair, but where the glove is, and you see the glove, it's certainly in the foul territory. They did have the tag at first base. They were going for the double play on a tag of Xander Bogaerts. That would have brought a run in, but I'd rather see Ortiz swinging the bat 3-1.
Gets an opportunity here to do just that. Vogelsong walked Holt. Single to Bogaerts, swing and a miss there for Big Papi, and it'll be a full count.
Yeah, he's sitting on fastball, didn't get it, got a change up that time from Vogelsong, and way out in front, an off-balance swing by Ortiz. Sitting dead red and didn't get it.
Vogelsong signed with the Pirates thinking he'd be a reliever, but a chance here to make the rotation. The pitch to Ortiz, ground ball to second base, fielded by Harrison, but that'll bring in a run. And an RBI for Big Papi and a 1-0 lead for the Red Sox.
Now, David's certainly happy to get the run home, but, when he's in a count 3-0, 3-1, I think he'd much prefer to be driving the ball a little bit harder than that. I mean, I know regular season, you're happy to get the ground ball, get the run home. That's what you want to do. But I think David would have liked more of a quality at bat in that situation. One thing I've noticed with Ortiz, watching him hit in the spring training games is, I think right now, the only thing that he's missing is head discipline. It looks like his head is leaving a little bit too soon. And a lot of times in those counts, where he's got to hit his count, he's almost over anxious right now.
He's got another week to work that out, 10 days. Sox, at this point next week, getting ready for the first of 2 games in Montreal. Hanley Ramirez up now. Bogart's at second base and 2 down. They will wrap things up Thursday afternoon here in Florida at JetBlue Park. They'll be taking on the Mets in a split squad game. Then they will pack things up and fly north of the border. 2 games against the Toronto Blue Jays at Olympic Stadium, the Big O in Montreal. Plenty of Red Sox fans will be heading north, making the trip. For the Red Sox, head to Cleveland for the home opener on Monday, April 4th. Pitch to Ramirez outside. Bogarts just got to get back in there, and Bogarts does just that.
Let's take a look at Ortiz's swing on that last at bat, and you look at his head, and it just seems to me that the head discipline is not quite there yet. You'll see him kind of leave a little bit too soon on it. And I think that's one of the things he's been struggling recently with. And I think that's just from being a little bit over anxious.
It's the 1-2 to Hanley. That'll be a base hit to right field, as that will bring in the run. So a 2-out RBI base hit for Hanley Ramirez and a 2-0 lead here in the first for the Red Sox. That's
very nice hitting by Hanley Ramirez. He's got a couple of strikes on him, so what does he do? He cuts down on his swing just a little bit to make contact. Inside out swing to the opposite field. I mean, that's the Hanley Ramirez you remember when he was leading leagues in hitting. Taking balls to the opposite field like that with 2 strikes on him and drives in the run. So nice hitting there by Ramirez.
What a spring it's been for Hanley Ramirez. He's winning over fans with his work at first base defensively, Jared.
It's been impressive. You know, it's much better at this stage than I thought it was going to be. And I expected to make him to make the transition okay. I really did. But it's been better than I thought to this point. Now, we'll see what happens. You know, hours and hours of put in between Butterfield and Hanley Ramirez working early in the mornings, every single morning, prior to the Red Sox getting ready for their workout.
So Hanley Ramirez at first base. And the hottest hitter of the Red Sox this spring, Travis Shaw, will step up to the plate. Shaw ranking 3rd in all Grapefruit League qualifiers with a .419 batting average, a couple of homers, 9 RBI. All he does is hit. See the numbers from last season. There's a ground ball back up the middle, but well positioned defensively. Mercer gets the out. 2 runs on 2 hits. The Sox lead 2-0.
Welcome back to JetBlue Park. We are at the top of the second. the Red Sox with a 2-0 lead over the Pirates. I'm Garen Austin. TC, Jerry, as you guys mentioned, Pablo Sandoval is day-to-day with lower back stiffness after diving for a ball in Tuesday's game. John Farrell said he's making progress and he was able to walk on a treadmill today, but they're still a few days away from getting him on a field to take ground balls. And guys, an update on Koji Uehara. He threw a long toss today. He's scheduled for a bullpen tomorrow, and John Farrell said that all signs point to him being back on a game on Monday.
Thank you, Garen. So good news there for Koji Uehara, and an interesting discussion now at third base with the red-hot Travis Shaw perhaps getting an opportunity to become the opening day third baseman with Pablo Sandoval on the sideline. Josh Harrison leading off here in the second. He may have gotten that spot anyway, Jerry, just by virtue of how well he has played. But they're going to be careful when you have a guy like Shaw ready to go and a guy like Pablo Sandoval injured.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, John Farrell would not commit to an opening day starter at third base as of yet. And I think they're waiting to see how Sandoval comes along in the next couple of days. Now, he was out during batting practice playing catch, looked pretty loose, but we're going to have to see, you know, how many days it takes for him to get back on the field if he can get enough at-bats before opening day. We know Travis Shaw is ready. The question, will Pablo be ready at the same time?
Josh Harrison thought he had ball 4. Home plate umpire Kellogg did not agree, and that's the only opinion that counts in these issues. The 3-1 now, fouls off, and so it's a full count. Josh Harrison last year battled a thumb injury, was out from early July until late August, then hit .310 after he came back from the injury. The year before that, he was a National League All-Star. And he draws the walk, so second walk of the game here for Price. Harrison leads off with a walk, and that'll bring up Gregory Polanco.
Take a look at the last pitch, and just barely missing inside, or maybe a little bit low. It looked like a pretty good pitch to me, but not called a strike in Price's favor.
Left-handed hitting Polanco will step up to the plate, hitting .237 in Grapefruit League play with a homer and an RBI. Polanco was primarily a leadoff hitter last season. Pops that one to third base. Shaw under it will make the catch for the first out of the inning.
Been a strange day here in Southwest Florida. Rained really hard this morning, and then it cleared off, became very muggy. And temperatures over 80 at game time, but very heavy humidity tonight for this one. See the humidity at 73% now. In my opinion, that's pretty high. Temperature of 81 degrees. And we avoided, I think, some thunderstorms that way. They were possibly calling for tonight, but it doesn't look like we're going to get any.
Yeah, latest radar, Jerry, shows all that stuff on the east coast of Florida.
That's good. That's where it belongs.
But a pretty steady kind of tropical rain early this morning.
That was a good throw to first base by Price because, you know, I'm watching Harrison over there, and it looked like he really wanted to go. He was leaning and kind of a little bit edgy as he was heading in his lead towards second base, and I think that's one of the reasons Price took a look at him and made that throw to first base.
And here's Tito Polo. You can see his West Virginia number, single A last year. 4 years in the low minors for Pittsburgh, and again thrown into this lineup as a last-minute replacement after Andrew McCutchen was unable to go. 46 stolen bases last year, the most of any Pittsburgh minor leaguer. The 0-1 pitch from Price, fouled off.
And you got to think about what a thrill that is for a guy like Polo to get called up to play in a game like this. He probably woke up this morning not expecting that at all. Gets the call probably late in the afternoon saying, hey, jump on the bus. You're going to play the Boston Red Sox tonight.
May have woken up this morning like you, thinking it was a day game.
I'm telling you, I am so messed up. And then plus you got the 6 o'clock start, so I don't know what it is.
Price ahead of the batter, 0-2. Takes a look over to first base. Harrison gets back. Sox with a 2-0 lead. Ortiz and Hanley Ramirez with the RBI in the first. Polo with a base hit to right field. So the late call and an early base hit here in the second for the Pirates.
Yeah, they look like they've been around a long time on that swing. No balls and 2 strikes, and just trying to protect the plate. Picks up the base hit to the opposite field. Little too much a home plate that time for Price. They wanted to go away to the outside part of the plate. It kind of stayed middle. And Polo takes to the opposite field for the hit.
The 22-year-old Tito Polo at first base. The pitcher now, Ryan Vogelsong, 38 years old. Stepping up to the plate.
I wouldn't be surprised that he's bunting in this situation. National League team letting their pitcher hit in this ball game tonight.
Hanley Ramirez reading it all the way. Not much on the bunt, so they're able to get the out at third and the out at first base. So the double play beginning with the catcher Swihart, and that didn't work out for the Pirates. The Sox with a double play have a 2-0 lead heading to the bottom of the second.
How fast is it?
Money fast. It's not how
by Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. By Ace Ticket. Visit Ace Ticket or call 1-800-MY-SEATS. And by Bob's Discount Furniture. 2-0 Red Sox leading here and heading to the bottom of the second. Nice inning-ending double play on the bunt attempt from Vogelsong. Everybody played this perfectly, Jared.
You sure did, and not a good bunt at all, but heads-up play by Swihart and Shaw, and look at the pick at the other end by Pedroia, able to keep contact with the first base bag. So, I mean, the ball was not very far from home plate. Swihart made that instant decision to go to third base with it, and then Shaw made the decision to go to first base to get the double play. So, very good. Very well done by the Red Sox.
You can come to a lot of baseball games, Jerry. You won't see a lot of 2-5-4 double plays, but you saw one there. And Dustin Pedroia looking like a first baseman with that stretch.
Yeah, and, you know, like we were talking about, too, you know, we're playing in an American League team, but the National League allowed to use their pitcher to hit because they want to get them ready for the season. So that's why you see Vogelsong, you know, in that number 9 spot tonight, and his job there was to try to bunt 2 men in the scoring position, ended up bunting into a double play, started by Swihart. We talked about his defense in the open tonight.
And here's Chris Young batting .222, couple of homers in Grapefruit League play. Lays off that one. 2-1 is the count now. Vogelsong falling behind. Saw Vogelsong batting there last year. Jerry hit his first home run at the age of 38. His first major league home run, the oldest Giant ever to hit one. Here's Chris Young, left field, but getting over there is Polanco for the first out of the inning. Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home. And best of all, you'll get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. And here's Rusney Castillo, center field tonight. Starting to see Castillo play all three outfield position, Jerry's. Looks more and more like he might be part of that mix in left field, but not necessarily the everyday left field.
I agree with you. You know, especially after that press conference today with John Farrell. I mean, it really sounded, and he wouldn't call it a platoon situation out there yet, but it did. It's like three guys battling for playing time: Young, Castillo, and Holt in left field.
I think when you talk about third base here, Jerry, you talk about left field. I think it underscores the urgency they feel after back-to-back last-place finishes. You know, usually the veteran is going to get the opportunity to start the season, but this year it seems pretty clear as Castillo flies to center field here. An easy one for Marte. It seems pretty clear, Jerry, that they're going to go with a hot hand and do whatever they think will help them win the most games from the start of the year.
That really has been what's been, talked about since the beginning of spring training. The fact that they need to get off to a good start, because the last couple of years, by the time June comes around, you're pretty much buried. And that's a tough way to play baseball. So it's imperative, and especially with a lot of games against the American League East early, that the Red Sox come out of the chute playing very good baseball.
Two down now for Blake Swihart, who we talked about in the open tonight. Swihart, 238 in Grapefruit League play so far this season, but we underscored his numbers over the second half of the season. Foul ball here to third base side. Freeze under it, and a 1-2-3 inning for Vogelsong. We head to the third. Sox up 2-0.
This Corolla's got a sweet
Red Sox leading 2-0 heading into the third inning here at JetBlue Park. New England's premier hair loss doctor is Dr. Robert Leonard. Do what Wes Welker, Lyndon Byers, and I did. We all restored our hair with Dr. Robert Leonard. You'll look younger, you'll feel younger, and you'll get your hair back. Call 1-800-GET-HAIR for your free consultation. And someone at the pool today over at the hotel walk up to me and say, my hair looks great. Isn't that nice?
Really?
Yeah. An older gentleman who said, yeah, I've seen your ads. Your hair looks great. I said,
I don't even recognize you.
Thanks, big fella.
I don't even recognize you.
Always nice to hear that. Leading off the third inning, Jody Mercer, the leadoff hitter.
You do look much younger with all that hair that's
it's
flowing.
Made a difference.
Flowing.
I don't know if it's flow. Yeah, like Brock Holt last year had flow. That's flow.
Yeah.
But he cut it down. Yeah, I've noticed that. A lot of the guys, kind of Jackie Bradley Jr., going with the more corporate image this year.
Yeah. I got buzzed up a couple of days ago.
I see that.
Yeah, really buzzed.
Yeah. Well, I think with all your weight loss, you want to limit the hair and sort of accentuate, the incredible shape you've shown up in the camp.
Hey, you know, the offseason is not just for baseball players to get in shape, too. Broadcasters have to stay in shape.
I was watching again your plate discipline at dinner tonight in the media dining room. Half of everything.
Exactly.
And no dessert. I thought you'd go half a dessert, but it didn't work that way. So you got to lay off that completely, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big sweets guy. You know, that's never been a real problem for me. I am a big portion guy, though. I do like big portions. So that, just by cutting them in half, you know, you drop some weight. 20 pounds, about 20 pounds.
That's incredible.
Congratulations. Yeah. And I must admit, I do feel better.
You feel better?
I do feel better.
That's the key. It's Price. The battle here with Jody Mercer. The count 2-2. And he gets the called third strike. Second strike out of the game for David Price.
Yeah, both times he's got Mercer to strike out the leadoff hitter, and that's always a good sign for a starting pitcher. Get that leadoff hitter in the inning, and Price has done it twice tonight via the strikeout.
So one down for the catcher, Francisco Cervelli. Got a base hit back in the first inning. Was stranded at second base. This Price put a couple on with one out in the first, but then got Marte and Rogers to end the threat. Cervelli, 128 games catching last season for the Pirates. So takes a called strike there. .360, there it is. We talked about it. The certified Red Sox killer that he was with the Yankees. Missing inside. Price falls behind 2-1.
Back-to-back changeups followed by a fastball inside, running the count 2-1. Cervelli's mine. I mean, you can't be sure what you're going to get here. He doubled up on the changeups early. Let's see if he does it again.
Ground ball, foul on the third base side. Came in with a fastball that time.
Yep, fastball inside. So it's been 2 changeups, 2 fastballs to Cervelli.
Good opportunity for Price to get in his work against the team you won't see this season. Red Sox don't play the Pirates. Tomorrow, Clay Buchholz would be next in line, but they don't want him facing the Orioles because you'll see them so often, so he'll stay back and throw a simulated game or a minor league game. Price just missing outside, so the count runs full. Pirates won 98 games last season, the second most wins in all of Major League Baseball, but the only team with more wins was in their division. So they went to that wild card game and lost it against Jake Arrieta and the Chicago Cubs. And it'll be a walk to Cervelli, the third walk of the game issued by David Price. Red Sox season ticket holders experience the best seats, price, and benefits Fenway Park has to offer. For information on becoming a season ticket holder, please visit redsox.com/season tickets or call 877-RED-SOX-9 today. So a walk to Cervelli with one down here in the third brings up David Freese, who walked back in the first. Red Sox leading 2-0. Both runs coming in the first inning. The pitch from Price, swing and a miss. A cutter there with Freese chasing.
Now, right now, Price, is going to be happy he has not given up a run, but I don't think completely happy with his command at this time of the ball game. He's walked 3 in the game, 1 per inning. Fortunately, they have not scored.
Misses there, so it's 2-1 to Freese. Freese was a .286 hitter in his 4 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals, but that was down to .257 last year with the Angels, which is why Los Angeles went in a different direction. Swing and a miss there. Gets the fastball by him.
Yeah, good velocity there, 94, 95 with that last fastball from Price. A little extra on that. Up and away from Freese.
One down, one on. It's a 2-2 with a runner going. Misses inside. Here's the throw. Not in time. So stolen base there for Cervelli. With one out here in the third.
Kind of a surprise stolen base that time by Cervelli. You can see not a real big lead at first base, but he's going on the very first move by David Price. And that'll happen a lot of times with lefties on the mound. There's that quick tag by Pedroia on the bounce, but it's a little bit high. And Cervelli is able to get in with that foot first before the tag. A lot of times runners on that first move, as soon as they see a move by the lefty, they'll take off and go.
That stolen base matching last year's total for Cervelli. Ground ball to Pedroia. Runner will advance as Pedroia gets it over for the second out of the inning. That'll put Cervelli at third base with 2 down for the cleanup hitter Marte. Marte popped out to second base in the first inning. It's David Price. Tries to get out of this inning without the run. 3 walks. A little bit of a surprise here for Price as he tries to find his command in the early going. Marte won his first Gold Glove last season, a National League best 16 outfield assists. In fact, Polanco finished behind him 13. That was the most outfield assists, number 1 and number 2 in the National League. Good defensive team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ground ball back to Price with the glove. He'll make it, flip it to Ramirez for the final out of the inning. So 3 scoreless for Price. Sox up 2-0.
Fios is not cash.
Sox leading Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room of your entire home. Best of all, you get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Sox coming up here in the bottom of the third, a 2-0 lead. So hasn't been a clean inning yet for David Price, but he's been able to get out of everything. Not so for Vogelsong, who gave up the 2 runs in the first inning on a walk and a couple of hits. Brock Holt, who's leading off tonight, will lead off the third. Holt playing left field. He played a little left field last year. 7 different positions he started last year. In fact, Jerry, he's made starts at 7 different positions 2 straight years. The only Red Sox player to ever do that.
That's incredible. And, you can say it as much as you want, but it is not easy to do that. It's not easy to move from one position to another, never mind 7. I mean, you can imagine the amount of gloves that Brock Holt has to travel with him every time he goes on a road trip. Because you never know where he's going to be.
And put in time working at the position. You'll see him taking balls out in left field, coming in for some infield.
Yep.
Getting his hitting in, obviously.
And really, when you think about it, TC, I mean, how many of those kind of guys have you ever seen in an All-Star game? Not many at all.
Zobrist, Holt, I mean, you go back the last 20 years, that's probably the short list. And he slices this one fair down the third base line all the way to the corner as Brock Holt charging into second base with a stand-up double to begin the 3rd inning.
Well, Brock Holt had that space between the third baseman and the third base line, and he found it, didn't he? That pitch over the middle of the plate. He originally thought that ball was going to be foul. You could see him hesitate, and then fortunately it did not hit the wall jetting out. It just ran all the way to the left field wall, got stuck underneath, and Brock Holt with the double. So a leadoff double here in the 3rd. Now it's Pedroia's job to get him over.
Holt led off the game with a walk and ultimately scored on the ground ball out from David Ortiz. Leads off the 3rd inning with a double here. Dives back in as Vogelsong checks him. Pedroia popped to first base back in the 1st inning. Pedroia at .257 now, coming into the game anyway for the spring. As Vogelsong misses there. Watching Pedroia over the course of the spring, the classic veteran spring, right? It was a little slow to start. Now you see the timing coming together. You see the base hits starting to fall in. And Pedroia getting ready for the season now just 10 days away.
And that's how you like it if you're a veteran player. That's how you want it to play out. I mean, every player wants to go out there every day and get 3 hits, but that's usually not the case in spring training, especially early. And you want your at-bats to be quality at-bats as you inch closer and closer to the season. Big hole between 3rd and short for Pedroia.
1-1 the count to Pedroia as Vogelsong trying to get him to chase on the outside.
They have Mercer, the shortstop, trying to hold Brock Holt very close around that bag. And he's been stepping in behind him, which leaves a wide open hole between 3rd and short for Pedroia.
Pedroia with a base hit to center field. Marte gets after it. Holt comes around an RBI single. And now missing the cutoff, Pedroia will advance.
Well, Pedroia gets the bonus. Not only does he get him over, he gets him in with the base hit. And that's some sloppy play by the Pittsburgh Pirates. They just unleashed this ball, Sterling Marte, to the infield, and it goes over the infielder's heads. And once Pedroia sees that, he gets in a scoring position. Here's Marte. You can see out in center field picking the ball up. Now watch the throw just completely over everybody's head. And as soon as Dustin sees that, he takes off at second base. There's nobody in the cutoff position there, and there shouldn't be.
Vogelsong had to get after it himself as the Red Sox take the 3-0 lead here. And now with Pedroia on second, Xander Bogaerts, who had a single and scored back in the 1st inning. Opportunity to drive it a run. Slices this one down the right field side, getting after it with a sliding effort is the right fielder Polo, but unable to get there as it's up in the seats.
Yeah, that's the way more and more outfielders, because the ball's not hit that high and that wall gets on them so quickly, they go into that dive. Because the one thing they don't want to do is go headfirst in the wall, obviously, so they go into the slide to try to make the catch that way.
How tough is that coming into the side like that with the low wall? You're looking up, Jerry, and the peripheral vision of the wall isn't there.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. He really doesn't know right now how much room he's got. And you can see him going to the slide right there. And it wasn't hit high enough for him to be able to track it and go standing up toward the wall.
There's a base hit up the middle for Bogaerts. And Pedroia will hold up at third base. So Bogaerts with his second hit of the day. After a 2-for-3 day yesterday with his first home run, Bogaerts coming around now here as spring rolls along.
Yeah, and if you watch that swing closely, you can see Bogaerts is trying to move that ball to advance Pedroia. He's trying to go to the right side. Instead, it goes up the middle and picks up the base hit. But watch the hands come inside the baseball and drive that ball up the middle for the base hit. He was trying to go to the opposite field to advance Pedroia. It's a completely different swing than the first at bat that he had tonight, where he pulled the ball for the single.
He did that so well last year, hitting to the opposite field. And some people question where was the power, but they were giving him that opportunity, and why wouldn't you take it?
Exactly.
All right, David Ortiz, an RBI back in the first inning. And a ground ball out, first pitch swinging, skies this one. As Rogers in foul territory will get under it for the first out of the inning. Well, Tuesday, April 12th is David Ortiz necklace giveaway night at Fenway Park. The first 15,000 fans in attendance receive an Ortiz 500 necklace courtesy of FWM. For tickets or more information, visit redsox.com/promos. I'm assuming it's not the real thing, right? It's not a real David Ortiz necklace, because if you gave away 15,000 of those, that would cost a lot of money.
Yeah. A real David Ortiz necklace would cost you a lot of money.
The man can carry the bling like few others can. And he has carried it well throughout 14 years now with the Red Sox, including this season. It's Hanley Ramirez, who had a 2-out RBI single in the first inning, comes up now with 2 on, and 1 out here in the third. Sox have already gotten one in this inning, a 3-0 lead. Tom Caron, Jerry Remy, Garen Austin with us on a Friday night at JetBlue Park. Glad you could join us. Ramirez fouls that one off.
I think that pitch surprised Ramirez again. The count to 1-0, and probably thought he was going to get a fastball. Instead, he gets that curveball from Vogelsong.
Five hits already for the Red Sox, including 3 here in the third. Holt with a double, Pedroia and Bogaerts back-to-back singles. 1 down now is Ramirez. Lets that one go. 2-1 the count.
Let's see if they have Bogaerts going on the 2-1 count at first base.
Bogaerts does not go. Hanley Ramirez with a drive to center field. That'll be plenty deep to score Pedroia. So a sacrifice fly for Hanley Ramirez and a 4-0 lead for the Red Sox.
Now, one of the impressive things for the Red Sox offense tonight has been that situational hitting we've talked about quite often. And, we saw Pedroia get the run in with the man at second base. We saw Bogaerts with the base hit up the middle. We see Hanley with the man at third base get the fly ball for the sacrifice fly. So that's the way you run on offense right there, and that's going to put runs on the board, and that's what it's done this inning.
And that'll bring in Travis Shaw now for the Red Sox. 2 down. Shaw grounded to short to end the first inning after they had scored a couple of runs. Here in the third inning up with 2 down and a couple of runs in. Checks his swing there. They check the third base. And they say he held up.
Nice job by Cervelli, the catcher, too. He expecting the breaking ball to be down in the dirt. Most catchers will get down to their knees to try to block it. That's exactly what Cervelli did, and left Bogaerts at first base.
Foul ball back here.
That was a great jump at first base, too, by Bogaerts. He kind of had like a walking lead. They did not stop him, but, you know, when you got a guy like Travis Shaw, you really don't expect him to take a strike for you because you're always looking for the long ball from a guy like Shaw.
The 1-1 pitch from Vogelsong. Misses outside, ball 2. Red Sox have won 3 in a row in 4 of their last 6 here at Grapefruit League. And I know the wins and losses don't count and maybe don't matter in the big picture, but they had lost 7 in a row prior to that, Jerry, and nobody wants to keep losing games.
No, and you know, the way they're playing this game tonight, we just talked about situational hitting, and that's winning baseball. And that's the kind of habits you want to get into down here.
It has led them to a 4-0 lead here with 2 down in the bottom of the 3rd. Shaw has driven in 9 runs here at Grapefruit League play. Runner going. Shaw, a little bloop here to deep second base, if you want to call it that, as Harris gets over Harrison to make the play. So, the Red Sox, 2 runs on 3 hits. They lead 4-0. Nothing heading to the 4th inning. This Red Sox spring training game on NESN brought to you in part by Ace Ticket. Ace Ticket is Boston's trusted source for Red Sox, Bruins, and Celtics tickets. Visit Ace Ticket or call 1-800-MY-SEATS to treat someone special to a game now. Jason Rogers leading off the 4th inning. He'll foul that one off to the 3rd base side. David Price still looking for his first 1-2-3 inning of the game, but he has pitched out of any damage. A couple of hits, 3 walks off Price for the Pirates tonight. Ground ball here to 3rd. Shaw up with it. 1 down here in the 4th. Shaw's looked good defensively over at 3rd base as he helps out David Price there. Price, 3 1/3 innings now. 3 walks, but again, that's spring training for you, Jerry, as you try to work on some things and get your command.
Yeah, I think last year only twice did he walk 4 guys in a game.
It's called strike to start the Josh Harrison at bat. He walked to lead off the 2nd inning as he raced on the 2-5-4 inning-ending double play on the bunt attempt for the pitcher Vogelsong. Missing outside there, 2-1 the count. Harrison's taking that, so 3-1 is the count. Harrison last year began the season as a leadoff hitter. In fact, just the third player in Pirates history to lead off the home opener with a home run. Drives this one to the gap in right center field. That'll go all the way to the wall. Played in center there by Castillo. So a lead or a one-out double for Harrison here in the fourth inning. Harrison aboard for the second time tonight.
Yeah, second time he's been on. Got the walk back in the second, and then it gets the count in his advantage. He's well off the plate, but he has that opposite field swing, as you can see right there on a 3-1 count, and drives it a long way out to the bullpen area. A couple of hops up against the wall, and Harrison finds himself at second base with the double. You see 29 doubles last season for Josh Harrison.
Pirates have had a runner in scoring position every inning of David Price tonight, but they have not been able to convert on the opportunities. Gregory Polanco trying to change that as he steps up, one down and a man on second. Polanco popped out to third base in the second inning. Tries to hold up there, but he can't.
Looks like the cut fastball that time from David Price, fooling Polanco with that swing. Now the count really in his favor. No ball and 2 strikes.
Time called here as Swihart Price will start over.
Now Swihart using multiple signs with a man at second base, and not one that Price so liked after a series of them.
The 0-2 from Price. Just missing outside. Price with a career 3.09 earned run average. That's the 4th lowest of any active pitcher with 1,000 innings or more. The best in the American League. The other 3 are National League pitchers. Polanco just able to hold up there, so he battles back.
That ball was in the dirt. Swihart looked like he wanted to come up and throw to second base.
Trying to catch Harrison napping off the bag. Two from Price. Popped foul on the third base side. Shaw, Swihart there, but it'll be back. Right near Karen Austin in the photographer's bay.
They give Garen a glove down there. She would have had a chance to make a play on that.
Torlavello making sure she's okay. Everybody seemed to scatter out of the way there, but Garen held her position.
Now you've got to have courage when you're in that position down there as a sideline reporter, right near the dugouts. Got to be heads up.
You okay down there, Garen?
Yes, I do. Can I open up? I am, guys. I was thinking that. I thought it was coming right for me, but you know what? I cannot take one more head injury this month. I'm good.
That's right. She's just paddling back from an upper body injury. This time of year, we don't like to give away anything, Jerry. The regular season is almost here, so we just call it an upper body injury.
Well, I'm going to say she had a concussion, and that was from skiing.
Yeah, well, and the Nesson ski trip at that.
Yeah, but back in action. Missed it just a couple of days. Went through all the concussion protocol that Nesson has, and she's back at work.
Fly ball to right field. Chris Young back under it to make the catch. Harrison will advance to third. But 2 down now here in the 4th inning. Looking for the best seats to the biggest games? Check out the official Red Sox ticket resale marketplace at RedSoxReplay.com. It's the best place for season ticket holders to sell their tickets when they can't make it to the game. That's RedSoxReplay.com. 2 down in the 4th. Bring up Tito Polo, who had the base hit in the 2nd inning. Now with a chance to do something with 2 down. Harrison at third base. Fouls that one off.
I'll say one thing, he's not bashful, right? First time up, gets a base hit to the opposite field. Picks on the first pitch that time. Had a pretty good hack at that pitch against David Price.
Does not seem overwhelmed to face David Price, to say the least. One and one the count here to Polo. Just outside. A 2-1 count. Pitcher Ryan Vogelsong on deck. Here's Polo to left field. Holt can't get there. It'll go all the way to the wall. And Tito Polo, the late addition to the lineup, has a single and a double and an RBI now here in the 4th with 2 outs.
Yeah, we talked in his first about what a thrill this has to be a part of this game. And I'll tell you what, he's making the best of his opportunity right now. 2 for 2, a single, now a double. Drives in the first run of the ninth for the Pirates. Finds that gap between Holt, Castillo, and have to chase it all the way to the left field wall.
Tito Polo, who hit .236 in Single A West Virginia last season, is 2 for 2 off David Price here tonight. He has 2 of the 4 Pirates hits.
Maybe the pitching at the big league level is easy to hit. Who knows?
It's more predictable, maybe. You know they're going to be around the plate. I don't think it usually works that way, but he's made the most of his opportunity tonight. Now Vogelsong, who bunted into the inning-ending double play in the 2nd inning, gets his 2nd at bat of the game. Strike 2 to Vogelsong.
Now with the pitcher hitting, you'll see most teams in the National League, when the pitcher's hitting, shade their outfielders to the opposite field and play shallow. And that's exactly what the Red Sox are doing now with Castillo and Young. And especially now that there are 2 strikes on Vogelsong.
Swihart will run through the signs once again. And he gets Vogelsong to end the inning. But the Pirates, with a couple of doubles, get on the board. Sox lead it 4-1.
Tomorrow.
This
lead for the Red Sox. Here, Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home. And best of all, you'll get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Sox coming up to bat here in the bottom of the fourth with a 4-1 lead. Trying to make it 5 wins in the last 7 Grapefruit League games. We will head north and come to you tomorrow from, where are we, Sarasota tomorrow?
Sarasota.
Suppose I should know that. You've already told me I'm driving. I should find out where we are.
Yeah, we got wheels up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, only about an hour and 15, hour and a half to get to Sarasota, so we'll be in good shape.
AL East action against the Baltimore Orioles, who have been besieged by injuries, so it'll be interesting to see how Dan Duquette and Buck Showalter are trying to patch that together for the start of the season. Bad news for the Red Sox this week. Carson Smith suffering an injury there, and he's expected to be an important part of the bullpen, Jerry.
He certainly is, and we have been very, very impressed from what we've seen of him, both last year with the Seattle Mariners and what we saw briefly this spring. And hopefully it's not going to be anything serious, something that he'll be able to work his way through in time and get back with the Red Sox as soon as possible.
Here's Chris Young giving that one a ride. Foul ball left side. Young at 32 years of age, coming over from the Yankees in the offseason. One of only 16 major leaguers with 10 or more home runs in each of their last 9 seasons. One of only 3 outfielders. As Vogelsong looks in, and Young drives this one to left, but right there is Polanco on the line, drive out for the first out of the inning. The Bruins hit the road. They visit Toronto tomorrow night. Our pregame coverage begins at 6 with Pee Wee Saturday. The puck dropping at 7. Boston Bruins hockey lives on Nesson. Bruins got a losing streak all of a sudden. Got to turn that around before the playoffs.
We're watching a little of that game in dinner tonight. Of course, I had my back to it. You guys were watching it, but there was a disputed goal in that game.
I was just as fired up today as I was last night.
You were hot.
Yeah, that was a goal. Why have replay if you're not going to get it right? Conclusive evidence, it looked like, that the puck was in the net. Jack Brick and 17,000 friends at the Garden last night all seemed to agree with me.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I spoke with Claude Julien when I was doing the sideline gig in Dallas about a month ago, and he had a lot of questions about how Major League Baseball handles its replays and challenges as you get a base hit for Rusney Castillo up the middle. That's good news for Castillo. A 1-out single here in the 4th inning, but interesting to hear Claude Julien asking me about how baseball runs their challenges and their reviews, because the first time you have a coach's challenge in the NHL, and they're still trying to work out some of it. I think the biggest problem they have in the hockey side of it is it's the referee himself looking at the review to see if he got the call right. Baseball does a pretty good job with the transparency of it. I can actually call from our green room, the war room, after a decision's made, and they can tell me what they saw. It might be right or wrong, Jerry, but at least they're willing to tell you what they were looking at.
Right. And wouldn't you think in hockey now, I don't know that much about it, obviously, but it would be somebody neutral that's maybe upstairs and has a television monitor there that can take a look at that instead of the referee that's on the ice.
Having to say he was wrong.
Right. Wrong.
It is wrong.
He was wrong today.
Castillo twice has to dive back. Do you like where baseball is now? We're a few years into the reviews and the challenges and the replays. Do you like how it's evolved?
I do. I think that it's improved the game. I think, the whole idea is get the play right. I know sometimes it's a little bit lengthy, but I do like it. I wasn't sure about it when it first came in, but I always have been for get the play right, get the call right. And if this is what they have to do to get it right, and for the most part they do, I think it's a good thing.
0-1 the count here to Blake Swihart, 0 for 1 of the night.
think the best one, TC, is college football. If you watch any college football, I mean, their replays are looked at very, very quickly.
Yes.
From upstairs, and they immediately get back down to the referees on the field.
I agree. They do that well. They do it quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be the quickest system of any of them.
0-2 now. I will say this. Baseball has done a pretty good job of making most of the reviews pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was worried there would be very long delays in a game that can't, afford to get any slower. But they've done a pretty good job keeping most of them in a timely fashion.
I would agree with you on that. Because I was a little bit leery about that, too, when it first started. I know as a player, the game seems slow, but it doesn't seem slow when you're out there playing. And delays like that can, put you to sleep. And you just hope that the pace of the game continues and continues well.
1-1 the count here as Vogelsong misses inside. Vogelsong seems concerned by what Castillo's doing over at first base.
Yeah, Castillo, he's had that type of lead that looks like he wants to go. And he's been making a couple of moves towards second base. And I think the message from Cervelli is, hey, the worst he can do is steal second. I mean, let's get after this hitter a little bit. Let me take care of the runner at first base.
Swihart with a chopper fouled on the first base line. But the other interesting thing about replay is rules we've started to see change essentially because of it, right? That when we talk about the new rule at second base on the double play and the takeout slide, they essentially get rid of the unwritten rule of the phantom neighborhood play, the tag. As Swihart will drop this one into center field for a base hit. So back-to-back hits with one out here in the fourth for the Red Sox.
Nice job by Swihart on the changeup that time. And his front foot was a little bit out there, but his hands were back, and he was able to keep that ball on the line to center field for the base hit. So that's really nice hitting on an off-speed pitch by Swihart. You can be off balance. Your stride can be out front, but as long as your hands stay back, you got a chance. And that's exactly what happened that time with Swihart.
From mid-June on, Swihart had the best batting average of any catcher in the American League. Pretty good considering, as you said in the open tonight, he wasn't expected to be here for a year or so.
Right. The on-the-job training.
Hard to do at the major league level. Here's Holt. He has been on twice. He has scored twice. Walked and scored in the first. A double to lead off the third. He would score on a Pedroia base hit. And he's ahead here 2-0. To finish that thought on the replay, now you've got the neighborhood play, which is gone because they want to be able to, on a review, see that you had the ball and that you were in contact with the bag, and therefore it's an out.
Exactly. And, I was part of that neighborhood play in my generation, and there were times when sometimes you'd really take advantage of it, and the umpire would come up and warn you. You say, just make sure you give me a little better effort next time. But the whole thing was protect the second baseman and the shortstop to let them get out of there a little bit early, because there really were no rules for sliding.
Right.
So, you had to kind of protect yourself that way. But sometimes you cheat a little too much, and then they would say to you, just give me a better effort next time, and you better give them one.
Holt ahead 3-1, and now with these rules, you don't have to worry about the neighborhood play because you are protected by the rules if they're enforced.
You do have a little bit more protection as a shortstop and second baseman now with the new rules in effect, yes. Which to me is just reinforcing the rules that they already had.
That's right. Runners going as Holt grounds to second base. Harrison makes the play to retire Holt, but the two runners going, keeping them out of the double play. and 2 in scoring position now with 2 outs for Pedroia.
The Red Sox have been aggressive in a lot of phases of the offense tonight. You know, situational hitting, getting guys going on a 3-1 count. That stays away from the double play. 2 men get in the scoring position. That ball almost booted there by Harrison at second base, but he's able to recoup and make the out at first. So now Pedroia's got an opportunity with 2 outs to drive in a couple.
He's already driven in 1, had the RBI single in the 3rd inning that gave the Red Sox a 3-0 lead. Now a 4-1 lead, 2 down. 2 runners in scoring position. Pedroia always peaks towards opening day. 9 straight opening day starts. Jerry's got at least 1 hit in every one of those openers.
That feels good, too, to get that first one under your belt. You know, all this stuff that we're going through right now doesn't matter. You know, what matters is when you open up on opening day, because all that counts. And everything, you know, when you get that first hit, catch that first ground ball, it all means something.
2-0 now, Pedroia ahead. Xander Bogaerts, who has 2 hits, is on deck.
Was Pedroia last year in Philadelphia, 2 home runs on opening day.
And he drives this one to center field. 2 runs will score, and the Red Sox take a 6-1 lead on a 2-run single for Dustin Pedroia.
Now, he's got it going on right now. You know, he's hit a couple of balls right on the button here tonight for base hits. 1 to drive in a run in the 3rd. And now very similar, that top spin line drive to center field to drive in 2. So Red Sox doing a very good job moving runners along, staying out of double plays, key base hits, offense clicking tonight.
Already 8 hits for the Red Sox, as Pedroia will come out of the game. As we will get the pinch runner here, Devin Marrero. So a 2-for-3 night for Dustin Pedroia. And Xander Bogaerts coming to the plate. 2 hits tonight, 2 hits yesterday. Bogaerts, who had been off to a slow start here at spring training, is on a tear now. Chopper to short. Mercer there over to second base for the force to end the inning. 2 more for the Red Sox and a 6-1 lead after 4.
What truck company do you think?
Monday night at 9, NESN debuts Red Sox All Access. NESN cameras follow David Price, Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Blake Swihart, and Joe Kelly each for a day in spring training. You'll see all 5 all-access features during Monday's half-hour show. Some changes now. Defensively for the Red Sox, David Murphy out in left field as Brock Holt is done for the night. Holt, the good night. A couple of runs scored. Devin Marrero, who came into pinch run for Dustin Pedroia, moves over to short, and Josh Rutledge will take Pedroia's place at second base. David Price out for his 5th inning of work, facing Jody Mercer for the 3rd time tonight. He has struck him out in each of the first 2 at-bats. It's the called strike there, 1-1. The 2-1 from Price. Fly ball, left field. David Murphy back to the warning track, and he'll make the catch just in front of the wall. Welcome to the game, David Murphy. 1 out here in the 5th.
Yeah, the Red Sox have to make a decision on Murphy within the next couple of days. And if I'm correct on this, if he's not on the Major League roster, he has the ability to try to get a job somewhere else or take a minor league assignment. Now, it's probably unlikely he would do that unless there was a date attached to it, But I think obviously he'd like to get a job in the big leagues if it's not going to be with the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think his first opt-out date is either Sunday or Monday, depending how you read it. The end of the day Sunday, I'm guessing, is the official time. And, you're at the point now where teams kind of know what they have, and maybe they thought they had enough in the outfield, and they don't now. So might be that opportunity for Murphy. With more talk of Holt going in left field, it becomes an even more crowded outfield here in Boston. 1 down for Cervelli.
It is amazing how with only, 5 days left in spring training, you see a bevy of moves made, teams that realize they need something more, and they need because of injury or other reasons.
The 1-2, Cervelli, grounder to third. Shaw up with it. 2nd out of the inning. Hair loss expert Dr. Robert Leonard has helped me and so many other men regain their youthful appearance. Don't procrastinate. Treat your thinning hair today with complimentary consultation at Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. Call 1-800-GET-HAIR.
Yeah, because you never know when some guy at the pool might say you got good-looking hair.
You want to look good. You want to look good sitting by the pool. Yeah? You never know who's looking. I didn't know. And I didn't wear a cap. I used to always wear a cap by the pool. See? It's a big difference. I came down here last weekend. As you know, I've been coming back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, a little travel.
I didn't even bring a hat. I don't know that I've ever traveled anywhere without a hat.
Is that right?
Yeah. Two down here for David Freese. Drew a walk, grounded to second base. Change up there for a called strike 2. 1-2 is the count. Price would love to get a 1-2-3 inning here. Hasn't had one yet tonight. Just missing inside there. .91 on the fastball. The last year, Price got traded to Toronto just before the deadline. Won 9 of his 11 starts with the Blue Jays team in a playoff race. 2.30 is earned run average. And well, he and Tulowitzki went to Toronto and just changed that entire atmosphere up there. But he'll miss here, and the 4th walk of the game for David Price puts David Freese aboard with 2 outs in the 5th.
TC, I remember talking to DeMarlo Hale, who was the coach with the Toronto Blue Jays, and he was all excited about having David Price. He said, what a difference it makes to have a guy like this on your staff. And he said, you know that every time he goes out there, you're going to win a ball game. And he said it's made an incredible difference for our staff and for our whole team.
By the way, Jerry, I always knew you were a cool customer, but you just finished that thought while Mo Vaughn came in and shook your hand.
Yeah, well, you know.
Mo Vaughn just dropped by the booth, came over and shook our hands. You were in mid-thought, just continued, gave him a little sort of tip of the cap without a cap, shook his hand, and he went on his way. And no one at home.
It's a big league move.
Dude, that's a big league move right there.
Maybe we should try to get Mo on.
Mo appears to be going to the radio side.
Yeah, well, he can stop over here after. We'll see if we can get his attention.
Hey, Kobe.
I'll tell you what we do need, TC, is we need lights because it's getting very dark in here.
That's fine.
If you excuse me for 1 minute, I'm going to go put the lights on.
You're going to turn that on? All right, thank you. I'll take it from here. Got a 2-1 count here to Starling Marte. I'm all alone. There's Jerry Remy, and there come the lights. And here's a fly ball to right field, and coming in from right field is Chris Young. And that'll end the inning. So a walk. That's it. Red Sox lead 6-1.
Hey, you know what makes my Aries recline?
Welcome back to JetBlue Park. We're at the bottom of the fifth, and the Red Sox with a 6-1 lead over the Pirates. I'm Garen Austin. TC, Jerry, it was a very special week for Red Sox great Louis Tiant, who had the opportunity to travel to his home country and throw out the first pitch as the Tampa Bay Rays faced the Cuban national team. Here's what Tiant had to say about the experience.
Oh, it was great. I think the thing was, that was the ballpark where we played the last season, professional winter ball in Cuba, and I played for Havana, and I was the rookie of the year in that year, in 1961. Now coming back and throw the pitch in the same ballpark, I think that's something, it's in your heart. It's something make you feel good about it.
Well, Louis Tiant talking about that experience going back to his native land. And I spoke with Louis for a while this afternoon, as you have, Jerry. Had the chance to shake the president's hand. But standing next to the president was President Castro of Cuba, obviously. And the handshake, at that moment, a couple people actually criticized, and Louis Tiant was very offended by that. He thought, this was a big moment, trying to move things in the right direction between these two countries. I was not going to pull my hand away from the president at that moment where things seemed to be thawing and things seemed to be getting better.
That's exactly what he said to me, too, Tom. And it was a very special moment for Louis to go back and be able to throw out the first pitch in that game in Cuba. And, he still talks about how Huber has not changed very much since the time that, he had been there, and it's sad to see, but he thinks that under the younger Castro, things may begin to change, and certainly everybody hopes that.
Interesting is take a look at the festivities in the first pitch. Louis Tiant there on the right, and he said even the little improvements you see there. Last time he went in 2007, he got to see family members as Ortiz fouls this one down the first base line. But when he went back to the hotel, Jerry, in 2007, the family couldn't go with him to the International Hotel.
Exactly.
This time they were allowed to go in, have breakfast together, have dinner together, and that meant a lot to Louis.
It did.
Take it inside, Bobby. Oh, bottle, easy.
David Ortiz leading off the fifth inning. The count full. Pitch from Vogelsong, and Ortiz drives this one opposite field. Off the wall as Ortiz slices that one off the Green Monster for a stand-up double. We'll see where that hit the wall, Jerry. Would have been close to gone back in Boston.
I agree with you. And, we talked earlier in this game about Ortiz pulling his head off the ball. And here's a good example when he's swinging the bat well. Watch his head discipline here. It stays right on the baseball, and he moves it to the opposite field and with power. And that's the kind of swing right there. That is the exact kind of swing that can get him out of this slump.
Jeremy Rivera taking over at second base, the pinch runner after the Ortiz double. I think that still would have been off the wall back at Fenway Park. Didn't hit that extra 5 feet on top, but pretty darn close.
Might have been a replay.
Which I'm sure they would have gotten right in a timely fashion. But always so great to see Ortiz going opposite field using that wall.
Exactly.
You start to see the timing come together when he does that.
I watch him in batting practice every single day, and he starts off with a routine of hitting the ball the other way, going up the middle, and then pulling. And all he's done in games is really try to pull the ball. And, once he starts delivering to the opposite field, that's when he really gets hot, because everything's working in sync for him. He can drive the ball, obviously, with power to all fields, as we well know. But that's the kind of swing that can get him going.
They try to get Rivera, but he dives back in there safely. David Ortiz talking about Eduardo Rodriguez. I think about just that, Jerry, about
Probably
how high up on the wall he hit it.
Was that going at Fenway? Yep.
Again, it's about 5 feet taller here at JetBlue Park, the Green Monster. Long look from Vogelsong. Time called by Ramirez. Because of the seats inside the wall here in left field in Florida, they had to give enough headroom, so there's actually about 5 feet above what would be the normal 37 feet back at Fenway. So if you hit one off that very top facade, that's a home run back in Boston.
Unless you get that sea breeze blowing in, that would hold that up.
That's right. Sea breeze knocks everything back down towards center field. But again, that very top, sort of above that, what looks like a white line there, is additional height to the wall. So all those dents would be home runs up in the monster seats. There's the 2-1 to Hanley. Takes it outside for a 2-2 count. Hanley Ramirez will check his swing there, and he'll draw the walk. Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox right now. Get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home, and best of all, you get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Alan Craig will be the pinch runner now for Hanley Ramirez after the walk. So Hanley, an RBI single, RBI sacrifice fly, and a walk. 1 for 1 with a couple of RBI officially. Right back up here in the booth.
I didn't even see it.
Right here in the booth. I got it. Look at that.
Very
Official
good.
Florida
Very
sign.
impressive. Where did it hit?
Right there. I did not catch it. Make no mistake. I did not catch that. Landed right here. There we go. We're going to give it to a kid. There we go. First kid I see. There you go. Done. Perfect. You got to give it to the kid, but you got to enjoy the moment first. You got to hold it up, let everyone see. They all thought I caught it, Jerry, so I wanted to relive that for a second.
I had no idea where the ball was. I was watching the monitor.
That's not good. I think we have a replay. All right, let's take a look at... See, look, I'm tracking it all the way. You had no idea. See, I was tracking that. Did you see that, Jerry?
I saw that. That's very good. Very good. That like caught me by surprise. I heard contact and
fly ball to left field here for Travis Shaw. Polanco will get under it for the first out of the inning. I had you back. Had it come over to your side, I would have had it for you.
No, I believe you.
No.
A lot of people have said that in the past that I don't believe. But I believe you would have dove in front.
I would have. I would have taken one for the Red Dog. But I think I probably would have given you a, hey, here it comes.
I'm glad you did, because, I mean, if that was coming at me and I had turned around.
There's no worse feeling than not knowing where the ball is. Looks like that'll do it for Ryan Vogelsong after he gets the out. So he will leave with 6 runs in and 2 aboard. The Red Sox up 6-1 here in the 5th. Pitching change here in the bottom of the 5th with the Red Sox leading 6-1. There is no better way to spend this spring vacation than with your family at Fenway Park. Great tickets are still available April 18th to the 21st. For more information and buy tickets, visit redsox.com/tickets. It's a nice Thursday matinee game during vacation week this year, too. So there's a good chance to bring the kids to a little day baseball. Archimedes Caminero is the new pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He'll replace Ryan Vogelsong, who is done after 4 1/3 inning. And if he's in that battle for the last starting spot in the rotation, didn't help himself tonight, Jared.
No, not really. Did not have great stuff in this game. This guy right now that's pitching, though, he can bring it. I mean, there are times last year he touched 102 on the radar gun.
First pitch swinging, Chris Young, played by Freeze, and an around the horn double play. 1 pitch, 2 outs, and Caminero gets out of the jam. Red Sox lead 6-1 after 5. Red Sox spring training game on NESN, brought to you in part by Ace Ticket. Ace Ticket is Boston's trusted source for Red Sox, Bruins, and Celtics tickets. Visit Ace Ticket or call 1-800-MY-SEATS to treat someone special to a game now. We've got someone special with us in the booth. Vaughn with us here. Former 1995 MVP, former Red Sox star. What are you doing down here in Florida?
I was over in Boca. My daughter's playing tennis, so I said, we got a night game when you ride over here, call Pookie. As I'm always doing, hammering Pookie. You got me some tickets down front, and I'm here. It's good. It's good.
I was impressed by Jerry Remy. You came in and said hello. Jerry was in the middle of a read, never even broke stride, didn't miss a beat, shook your hand, said hello, but kept talking.
He's the best. He's the best at it. He's into it. That's why I almost paused, because I didn't want him to interrupt him. But
he's unflappable.
He's the best at it.
What are you doing now, Mo? What's keeping you busy?
Well, I got an 11-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old boy, so those two things are got me going. It changed me as a man. You put them in the forefront. Things will happen good for you, and that's what I'm doing now. I started my real estate company in 2003. That thing's grown to 14,000 units from Boston to Miami. It's doing well, and I move freight in about 18 states out there in the Great Lakes area. So those two, three things keep me focused.
Good for you.
I know you built up that real estate over a long time with all those units, but I know it was special a few years back when you came back into the Boston market to be part of that community again.
Definitely, it's funny how things happen. They just did I know it was going to explode into this? No, I got out, I saw something, I did it, and it just worked out. But it was also good to come back to Boston and be able to do that business side too.
How close do you stay in contact with watching the Red Sox? Do you follow them as much as you possibly can?
Yeah, I work out in New York, so I got to hear the New Yorkers all the time. So I want to beat them, and then I'm in Cleveland. Every time you guys come to Cleveland, I'm there.
Yep.
So I want them to do well, and I don't know if you felt this, but in 2004 when we beat the Yankees, something came off of me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly.
Did you feel it?
Yep.
I felt it, and that's what it's all about. And whoever does it, we didn't care. It's over. Let's move on. And I'm glad they've won 3 since, and we can keep going.
David Price done for the night. Walked Rogers there to begin the 6th inning, so we'll stay here in the pitching change with Mo Vaughn. They did a great job too, kind of sharing that 04 championship with all the alumni, making you all feel like you were part of it, right?
Let me tell you something. These owners here have done what they were supposed to do with the organization. I think it's a family atmosphere. It seems like that when you go to the ballpark. But they put things together to go out and win. And they've done that, and they should be commended, definitely.
It's funny, because as an ex-athlete, you don't know how you're going to feel, because when you were there, when I was there, when you were there, we were trying to just accomplish the same thing. That was win a championship that they hadn't done in many, many years. And you kind of wondered how you were going to feel, once somebody finally won one. And everybody was ecstatic. I mean, all the former players, even though they didn't get it done, they were so happy that somebody got it done.
I know how I felt. I was sitting down there in Coral Gables. My wife was about to give birth to my daughter, and I had the tornado shades up, for the hurricane shades.
Yeah.
And I was watching the game, and when that happened, it was like we came back, we beat the Yankees, we're going to win this whole thing. But something came off of me. I didn't care who did what. Listen, we don't have to hear 1918 anymore. You don't have to hear it. I don't have to hear it. No one had to hear it. It was a great thing for those guys to do that.
Yeah.
And here now, JetBlue Park. It's a long way from Winter Haven, isn't it?
Oh,
it really changed. I mean, Fort Myers, first the other ballpark, now here at this. I mean, it looks like Fenway.
Too. I mean, I could have been taking batting practice swings inside out in the ball for this thing from like day one.
Yep.
That would have been pretty good. You know what I mean? This is great. This is great.
We talked about it before. David Ortiz just hit one off that wall. So important when he starts going opposite field. You kind of see that timing come back together for Big Papi, don't you?
100%. I was sitting there. I yelled at him. 2-0 hit the JetBlue Park. Just look that way. Lefties, if you look out over, you're going to spin on the ball the right way. You're going to hit it. You're going to hit it, keep it fair. If lefties start looking in, going to hook it around the pole, hook it around the hook it around the pole. Pesky pole going to be hooking it. You stay out over, you're going to stay through the ball. You're going to be doing well.
Well, the Red Sox this year going out getting David Price. You get an ace back at the top of the rotation, Craig Kimbrell. You get a closer on the back end. They spend some money. Clearly, after 2 last-place finishes, they're trying to be back in this thing.
Listen, one thing about Boston is, these guys, they're going to come out and take your lumps, and you can't win a championship every year. And the fans need to understand that. But, they're going to retool every couple, 3 years and get us back into the mix of things. That's all you can ask for.
Let me ask you this, Mo. What did you miss the most about baseball when you got out? Was the competition between you and the pitcher?
I think so. I don't think anybody realizes that tunnel that we're sitting in between you, the pitcher, the batter, the catcher, and the umpire. No one understands that. But I think I miss being in the clubhouse with the guys. I think that's what I miss the most, the friends that I made, and that I really don't see that much anymore. But that was a big thing.
Nice play by Bogarts, but the throw too high, and it sails over Rutledge's head. Everybody is safe, and the runner advances. Rogers getting all the way over to third base. Harrison goes into second. Noe Ramirez, the new pitcher, by the way. So what could have been 1, even 2 outs, instead you got second and third, nobody out.
Yeah, sometimes it's better, and I know it's very hard to do, but it's hard to put it in your pocket. You cover so much ground, and you want to make the play so badly that you end up making an errant throw. But there was very little chance that he was going to get a force out of that play. But as I said, it's hard to stop once you get going like that.
We're here with Mo Vaughn, 1995 MVP with the Boston Red Sox. Mo, we've asked a lot of guys this over the years. You came up through the system. You started in Boston, then you went elsewhere. Did it ever feel the same after you left Boston?
Never. See, I own business now, right? So I understand the ownership structure now. Us athletes, when we're playing, we don't understand what it is to be an owner and what owners are thinking. There's certain things you can't say about the team and about the general manager and about the owner. They're going to get rid of you. But these are things that you learn, later. Somebody said what I said about the Red Sox when I was playing. Right now, for me, they'd be fired immediately. You don't know that. You don't know. You got to be able to grow up and make the right choices, make the right mistakes. And it's hard to learn the job sometimes.
Hot shot there. Rutledge able to play it to get the out. The run comes in the back door. Rogers coming over from third. So 6-2 now the score. And I know it means a lot for the Red Sox and for fans to have you back around with the team from time to time. Again, like I said, the effort by the organization to bring all the players back in, how much has it meant to you to sort of have that open avenue again between yourself and the team?
Let me tell you this, Pam, I don't even know what her title is. She sends, I get like this happy birthday, Mo Vaughn, and they do a great job. They always offer me. I remember when Pedro, retired his number. They gave me an opportunity. I was doing something else, but they always offer me the opportunity to come back, and it's good. And that's what it should be. That's what it should be.
And it wasn't always like that, right?
And it wasn't always like that. And that's why you got 2, 3 championships in the last 10, 12 years. That's why guys come to play here.
I'm not sure what Pam Ken's title is now, but she made it to vice president, so she's big time now.
Well, she's big time. She's got my direct cell. She texts me. So, Dr. Arthur Pappas was a friend of mine. That was just terrible.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that
we
next.
were very, very close. I used to go sit back in his office, to hide. He'd be like, "Come here and close the door." Don't say anything. He was a great man. That hurt me when I got that text from her a couple of days ago.
Well, the Red Sox have mourned the loss of Dr. Pappas, certainly. A good play here at short for Marrero, so another run coming in on the ground out, so 2 in the inning for Pittsburgh. I got to ask you before you go, did you see the Seton Hall run? All of a sudden, the basketball team put together a nice little run here going into the tournament.
I did. Listen, if Seton Hall could get us the stadium on the campus, be better. It's hard, it's hard to draw athletes when you got to go to, Brendan Burner area. Now they were going down to Newark. It's still not the same thing. So that's going to always be their struggle. But they had a good team this year.
And the ground ball to third will end the
nice
inning.
Footwork.
Mo, want to thank you for coming by. Great to see you again.
Guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you up north. Okay?
All right, we'll see you up north.
See you later. Right.
Wait till July when it's warmer. You're a smart man. We'll come back. Red Sox leading 6-3 here at JetBlue. Jordan's Furniture, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home, and best of all, you'll get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Bottom of the sixth here at Jet Blue Park. Red Sox with a 6-3 lead, and Rusney Castillo fouls that off his foot and goes down in pain.
Yeah, right off his left foot. And he's got a guard, as you can see, but I think it got him more on around the toe area. Yeah, it did. And that'll just drop you.
And they will come out and take a look at him. Rusney Castillo, 1 for 2 on the night, a single in the fourth inning, and he scored a run. Talked about the battle for outfield time. Certainly the last thing he wants is any sort of injury here. And he will stay in there. Great to see Vaughn.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a nice touch. Glad to see him so successful after his playing days.
And I'm not sure if people realize, as Castillo takes that one for ball one, no, he called it real estate, but what he's actually done is gone into some inner city areas and some tough places around the country and renovated and rehabbed. In fact, he won a major award in New York City for the work he has done for some of the inner city housing there, really completely changing the livability of some of these inner city buildings. And he calls it real estate, but he's really changed a lot of lives by making better places for people to live. You know,
he's always has been a very generous guy. When he was a player, he was that way, and certainly as his career came to an end, he chose a path to help other people and done very, very well on it. So good for him.
Ground ball to short. Castillo will be retired here to lead off the bottom of the sixth. Ground ball as Swihart will ground to second base for the second out. So 2 quick outs here for Caminero.
You know what I like about that out by Swihart? The fact that he hustled all the way down the first base line. I mean, that was pretty impressive. It looked like a routine play, routine out, and he was busting it all the way down to the first base bag. That impresses me.
So 2 down now. David Murphy will get his first at-bat of the game. Murphy came in as a defensive replacement to begin the 5th inning. Batting in Brock Holt's spot. Holt had a walk and a double, scored a couple runs. As the Red Sox scored 2 in the first and 2 more in both the 3rd and 4th innings. Pirates have gotten a couple of runs back here in the top of the 5th. And we now stand, I beg your pardon, 6 from the bottom of the 6th. And it is a 6-3 game. Murphy going opposite field here, but a diving effort isn't enough, and the ball will roll by the left fielder, and Murphy is in there with a 2-out double here in the 6th.
That's a nice effort out there. Head first dive to try to make a catch on that. The ball gets by, and Murphy gets to second base with a double. So that leadoff spot's been pretty impressive for the Red Sox tonight. Holt with a walk, a double, and now Murphy picks up the double.
That was Polanco still out there. I held up for a second to make sure there hadn't been any defensive replacements while we were talking about Vaughn, but Polanco staying in there gave it a good effort.
Yeah, I really did, and that's a tough one, too, because it's not hit high enough. You don't know exactly what to do. Dive and try to catch it on the line. Sometimes it gets caught up near the light tower. Tough play.
And that'll bring up Devin Marrero. His first at-bat of the game came in for Dustin Pedroia as a pinch runner. Pedroia had 2 hits tonight, 3 runs batted in. Good night for Dustin Pedroia. See Marrero's numbers. Runners in scoring position. Pawtucket last year. Good crowd here on a humid Friday night at JetBlue Park. Been good crowds here throughout the spring, as usual. Catch the outside corner on that one for a call strike.
Yeah, and that last fastball, 97. As we mentioned when he came in the game, he reached over 100 a couple of times last year, but he'll hang around 97, 98, 99 miles an hour. He'll throw a cutter at about 92.
Last year was his official rookie season, though he had gotten some time up with the Miami Marlins in 2014. Last year, 73 relief appearances, which was the most of any rookie in the National League.
Well, that's a lot, isn't it, for a young player? It's a lot for anybody.
And they put him in pressure situations. Stranded 24 of the 31 runners he inherited. And was on the wild card playoff roster, though he didn't get in that game against the Cubs. Good at bat here for Marrero. He battles back. The 3-2 count.
That last pitch was a split-fingered fastball, so he's got that also, and that was 91 miles an hour.
Everything's hard.
Wow.
Caminero delivers, fouled off as Marrero stays alive. Nesson has a brand new site for car enthusiasts. Nesson Fuel, your new home for everything automotive, including exclusive driver interviews, race recaps, and much more. Visit NessonFuel.com and follow Nesson Fuel on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram today. Clint Hurdle, 6th year as manager of the Pirates, 965 career wins going back to his time in Colorado. That's the 6th most of any active manager, behind Terry Francona, who's now 5th. Fouled off there by Marrero.
Good at bat here by Marrero, really battling. 3-2 count, fouling the ball off. Against a guy that can bring a little heat.
Caminero will play the comebacker, and he'll flip it to first for the final out of the inning. Red Sox leading at 6-3, heading to the 7th. Red Sox with a 6-3 lead as we head to the top of the 7th. Overall, David Price pitching into the 6th inning, 93 pitches, scattered the 4 hits on the night. Did give up a walk in each of the first 3 innings and 5 walks overall on the night. Any concern there, Jerry?
I don't think so. I think Price will obviously say that his command was not exactly the way he'd like it, walking that many guys. That is a lot of walks for David Price, but all overall, the number on the scoreboard was very good when he left. So, I don't think he was. It didn't appear that he was maybe as comfortable as he had been in starts previous. But still, look at the results.
The Red Sox getting him an early lead here. 2 runs in the first inning tonight. They added 2 runs again in the 3rd and later in the 4th. Noe Ramirez on now in relief of Price. Facing Mercer here to lead off the 7th inning. The 4th inning rather, that Mercer leads off. Truly the leadoff hitter for the Pirates tonight. Three and 2 the count to Mercer. Fouled off the third base side as Mercer keeps the battle going. Foul ball once again. Good battle here. The 4th at-bat of the game for Jody Mercer. 0 for 3 on the night. Couple of strikeouts against Price. Now facing Ramirez. Down 6-3 in the 7th inning. Red Sox have out-hit the Pirates 10-4. Another foul ball.
That's been an impressive offensive night for the Red Sox. As we mentioned, did a lot of little things well, I thought, offensively in this game tonight. Clutch hitting with 2 outs and moving guys along, sacrifice flies. Just good stuff by the Red Sox offense. Henry Ramos in right field for the Red Sox.
And again a foul ball.
That's a pretty tough pitch. He just fouled off there. That was a pretty good slider down and away. Still able to make contact and give himself another chance. Sturgeon moves to center field. He was in right field. He moves to center. And Lynn is at third base.
And Dan Butler behind the plate. Blake Swihart's night is done. Ramirez gets him on the swing and a miss. Gets him to chase outside. Good at-bat from Mercer, but Noe Ramirez wins the battle.
Yeah, he just wanted to stay with the breaking ball, didn't he? And he stays this time way outside. It looked like a breaking ball anyway, and Mercer chasing it well off the outside part of the plate. Probably ball 4, but Noe Ramirez picking up the strikeout.
It's the eighth appearance in the spring from Noe Ramirez, Jerry. His ERA just over 2.08. He's pitched well.
Yeah, he's had a very, very good spring.
Francisco Cervelli coming up now. His 4th at-bat of the night. He's 1 for 2 with a walk on the night. Swing and a miss there, so Noe Ramirez out ahead 0-2.
There's that disappearing breaking ball again. Starts at outside corner and breaks off the outside part of the plate.
Ramirez made his Major League debut with the Red Sox last season, got 17 appearances in. Jordan's Furniture is the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home. Best of all, you'll get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Oh-2 from Noe Ramirez. Just missing outside. Last year, Jerry, batters had a 174 batting average against Ramirez when there was nobody on base, 310 with runners on base. So I would guess a point of emphasis this spring was pitching out of the stretch.
Yeah, there's a moral to all stories, too, right? Don't want anybody to get on base.
If you get after those guys, you don't have to worry about that.
I mean, you'd like him to start an inning, I guess.
Although in this case, he did come in with the man on and was able to get around it. Swing and a miss there. Second strikeout of the inning for Ramirez.
Yeah, back-to-back strikeouts. It was a slider the first out, and looked like a changeup maybe that time from Ramirez, as the bottom kind of fell out of that.
Ramirez has pretty much been close to a strikeout an inning guy over the course of his time with the Red Sox minor league organizations. 251 strikeouts, 270 innings in the minors. And since moving to the bullpen, his ERA has been just about 2 1/4. So kind of hit that ceiling as a starter. They give him an opportunity to relieve, and he has been a more effective pitcher. Sometimes guys just feel they can air it out a little more as a reliever, Jerry, when they're not trying to think about second and third and fourth time through a lineup.
Yeah, without question. And, you know, sometimes as a reliever, you can eliminate pitches, too. I mean, you can go with basically 2 pitches, a fastball and a breaking ball or a changeup.
Ground ball here to Freeze. Lynn up with it across a 1-2-3 inning for Noe Ramirez. The Red Sox take a 6-3 lead to the bottom of the 7th.
Legend.
This Red Sox spring training game on NESN is brought to you in part by Ace Ticket. Visit Ace Ticket or call 1-800-MY-SEATS. Tom Karen, Jerry, Remy, Garen Austin with you here at Jet Blue Park. Red Sox leading it 6-3 as they come to bat in the bottom of the 6th inning, facing a new pitcher for the Pirates, Neftali Feliz, the former Texas Ranger now. 2010 American League Rookie of the Year with Texas. You see his numbers last year, got traded to Detroit. Pitched pretty well with Texas last year, but after beginning with Texas to start the year, went the DL right around Memorial Day weekend. It just wasn't the same when he came back, Jerry. DFA'd on the 4th of July, picked up by Detroit, and his ERA ballooned up to 7.62.
Yeah, that's not the kind of numbers you expect out of Phillies.
Josh Rutledge leading off the 7th.
New opportunity for him here with the Pirates.
And 1-1 the count here. This is a guy who just 2 years ago, 2014, in 30 appearances with Texas, posted a 1.99 ERA. Swing and a miss. Another one of those guys in Texas, Jerry, that they kind of played. You're a reliever this year, you're a starter next year, and we've seen them go through a few guys, and not many guys came out of that very well on the other side.
No, I agree. And the one guy that did come out was C.J. Wilson. You remember when he was a relief pitcher with Texas?
Line drive left field. Back there to make the catch is Polanco.
And they put him in the starting rotation, of course, since that time of going to the Angels. And he became a very good starter. But you're right, TC. A lot of guys have gone back and forth, starting, relieving, and not to a tremendous amount of success.
Ogando, who was here with the Red Sox last year.
Right.
Robbie Ross, taking a little time, but now he's reestablished himself as a reliever. But they never seem settled on whether you were a starter or a reliever in Texas. And you'd have success in one situation, then they try it at the other situation. Not always easy to make that transition.
No, we see it right here in Boston with Matt Barnes. You know, kind of a situation where, as a major leaguer, they want him in the bullpen, back into the bullpen. But yet, when he goes to the minor leagues, they have him starting to try to get him stretched out.
And perhaps the worst experiment of all time in the Pittsburgh camp now, Daniel Bard trying once again to make that comeback. This is a guy who was as good a relief pitcher as there was in baseball.
Yep. Just sad. Really sad what happened to him. And there's, you know, I can't explain it, but nor can Daniel Bard.
Trying to make a comeback. It has gone fairly well with Pittsburgh, as Jeremy Rivera fouls off the 2-0 pitch. Monday, though, came into a game for Pittsburgh. Didn't record an out, gave up 3 hits and a couple of runs while walking 2. And it's those walks, the hit batters that you really look for when you see if Daniel Bard pitch, because it was all about the lack of control at the end. Called strike there. Ray Searage, the Pirates pitching coach there, with you can see Clint Hurdle there as well. And I mentioned it earlier, we talked about that lineup for Pittsburgh at the beginning, but it is an organization that doesn't mind thinking out of the box. Neil Huntington, in his 9th year as general manager of the Pirates, a New Englander himself, grew up in Amherst, New Hampshire. Ground ball, third base. Frees up with it across the diamond for the second out of the inning. Don't miss a new episode of Dining Playbook tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Billy and Jenny determine which Boston spots have the best late-night food menus. Plus, they catch up with Red Sox outfielder Mookie Betts. It's an all-new Dining Playbook tomorrow morning at 9 on Nessun. And Neil Huntington grew up in New Hampshire, just about 5-10 miles away from Chip Kelly, who, of course, was the Philadelphia Eagles coach, now in San Francisco. But last August, they actually met because Chip Kelly, probably one of the most out-of-the-box football coaches you're going to find, right? The different kind of offenses he brought to the NFL after succeeding with that at the college game. He was really one of the first guys for that very quick tempo, no-huddle offense. And it was interesting, the two organizations met a couple of times just to sort of talk about some of the innovations they brought to their sports and if there's any way you could carry that over to your team. That'd be like me and you going over to talk to Elliott about Jordans and see what works for them and bringing it back to the broadcast booth.
Trying to bring that to the broadcast booth, huh? I'm for all the help I can get. There's no question about that.
Phillies misses outside there. 2-2 now the count. They actually hired away a coach from the Eagles after Chip Kelly went to San Francisco. He manages nutrition and performance, off-field visualization, all of that kind of thing. And he did it for the football team. Now he's doing it for the Pirates. As that goes up into the seats. James Harris is his name. They hired Chris Johnson a couple of years ago from the Golden State Warriors. Kind of a psychology type background, maximizing performance and visualization. So they're bringing guys in to try different things. And listen, any edge, if it leads to a, they lost the NL Central by 2 games last year.
Yeah.
If you can figure out a way to get 2 more wins, then you don't have to play that 1 game in the wild card and you're in the playoffs.
What did they have, 97 wins?
98.
98
Second
wins.
most in baseball, second most in the National League Central. Cardinals had 100. And for the 3rd straight year, Pittsburgh made the playoffs but had to play that 1-game wild card. Problem with that is you run into Jake Arrieta in that 1 game and then your season's over. At least that's what happened last year against the Cubs. Swing and a miss, and he got it. Long battle there, but at the end, Craig goes down swinging, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Phillies. Heading to the 8th. Sox up 6-3.
My
Dogs leading as we head to the 8th inning here at JetBlue Park. No experience quite like watching a Red Sox game in a private suite at Fenway Park. Email premiumsales@redsox.com or call 617-226-6912. Book your private suite today. New pitcher for the Red Sox, Matt Barnes on the mound. He's had a nice spring, Jerry.
Yeah, Matt Barnes, has found his niche, and that's toward the back end of the Red Sox bullpen. Red Sox love to have guys that can strike people out. And John Farrar was talking about him today prior to the game and mentioning that, his fastball is great, but one thing they wanted him to work on was his breaking ball. So in hitters' counts, he could feature something other than his fastball. And he's been able to do that so far this spring. You see the 2015 numbers for him. A couple of starts, 32 games.
But so far in 6 appearances, 8 1/3 innings here in the spring, Jerry hasn't given up a run yet. He will face Jacob Stallings to begin the 8th inning. Stallings coming in to bat for Elvis Escobar. So, Jerry, Elvis has left the building.
He has left, probably still in the building, though, TC.
Yeah, that's a good point by you.
He's left the ball game.
Elvis has left the playing field here in the 8th.
I know a guy that you carry a lot during the season in the pre and post is Jim Rice. I know you carry him a lot.
Yeah, well, not like he carried you.
Exactly.
I saw that.
You
He
see
posted that picture on Twitter.
It was kind of funny.
That was, yeah, that's like they have recreations of great moments in history.
Yeah. It wasn't a great moment, but it was a moment.
So you got to take us through this now.
Well, it was in Yankee Stadium, 1979. I made a bad base running play, slid into home plate, tore my knee up, and there was no stretches, so Jim just picked me up like a little baby and carried me off the field. So we kind of recreated that yesterday in the Red Sox clubhouse many years later. And Jim was still able to pick me up.
There it is.
That's yesterday, in the a couple of days ago, actually, in the Red Sox clubhouse, getting carried off the field.
Yeah, last year when we talked a lot about Hanley Ramirez making the move to the outfield, Jim brought that up a few times in the post-game show. Yeah, let me just tell you, it's not that easy a transition for an infielder to come to the outfield.
I can imagine he did. And it's not.
Was that the only time you played the outfield at the major league level?
That's the only time. And there's look at that. I had hair, everything,
But not a smile. No smile that day.
No, that did not feel good. Off to a hospital in New York and then back to Boston on crutches. And it wasn't until next year that I actually got operated on for that knee. Technology wasn't quite what it is today.
Stallings gives it a drive. Center field. Sturgeon back to the warning track and to make the catch. For the first out of the inning. Now, you know why Jim was smiling in that picture? Because of your half-portion diet that you got on this offseason. Might not have been as big a smile if you'd done it a year ago.
Well, right now I'm about 173. I think probably when Jim picked me up there, I was probably about 160. So a little bit heavier.
Yeah, but not bad. One out here in the 8th inning from Matt Barnes. And you talked about Barnes, and we all knew he had the fastball, right? We all knew that he had the velocity that you would expect to translate to success in the bullpen. But he was saying essentially what you were talking about, that it was actually, he almost was trying to air it out too much last year when he came to the bullpen, and he kind of lost his control, almost overthrowing it. Had to learn to dial it back a little and still use his other pitches.
Yeah, and it's very important that you can get your secondary pitches over, especially in hitters' counts. When you're able to do that, throw a breaking ball when hitters are expecting fastballs. I mean, that's tough to hit.
His numbers weren't great. Sorry, Jerry. Numbers weren't great last year, but his last 9 appearances, he went 10 1/3, and his ERA was under 1.
Yeah.
So you got that glimpse of it at the end.
And I think you got to get a glimpse of it at the beginning of the season. I don't see any way this guy doesn't make the team to break spring training.
Well, first you had the Erod injury, right, which is going to move someone. Probably Stephen Wright, I would think, at this point, but it could be Rowanus Elias. One of those pitchers goes to the rotation, so you've got an opening. And now Carson Smith appears headed for the DL, so you got to think Barnes is in the mix now. Just out of the reach of Devin Marrero, a base hit for Jason Rogers. Jordan's Furniture is the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home. Best of all, you get to enjoy it now. Visit Jordans.com for details. Josh Harrison up with 1 on, 1 out. He's been on all 3 times today. A walk, a double, and he reached on a throwing error. And the shortstop Rutledge at the time, I believe it was. Base hit up the middle here. His second hit of the day. His fourth time on base.
And that was off a pitch that Barnes is working on, the breaking ball. It was the curveball that time, and Harrison takes it right up the middle for the base hit, so he's had a big night. Breaking ball stayed inside that time and became a pretty hittable pitch for Harrison.
And Gregory Polanco comes back up for his fourth at-bat. So the starter staying in there tonight for the Pirates.
Long game tonight, probably off day tomorrow.
That last week or so of spring training, when you were playing, Jerry, did you like to stay in longer?
I did, because I wanted to experience some late inning situations if the game was close. It's something you really don't get a chance to practice, in a game situation during spring training. It also depended on how I was swinging the bat. I felt like I needed more at bats, but mostly it was for defensive reasons where, you get into those ninth inning situations where you got to bring the infield in, and because it's something you really do during spring training. That's why I liked, to play a couple of games, at least the whole game.
Ground ball back to Barnes. He'll turn to second. Marrero to first for the double play. Barnes helps himself out of the Red Sox. Coming to bat in the bottom of the eighth with a 6-3 lead. Bottom of the eighth, Sweet Caroline playing here at JetBlue Park. 6-3 Red Sox in the lead. NESN Clubhouse will be back for its third season this season. Don't miss the show Sundays on NESN 90 minutes before first pitch of the Sox game. Visit NESNClubhouse.com. Cool games and to learn more about the show. Is that what you were doing? With a steering wheel in front of a green screen?
Now it's kind of like that car karaoke thing.
Is that for Clubhouse, or were you just bored?
I don't know. I was bored. I had nothing to do, so I felt like singing. Sometimes you want to sing.
Yeah. I don't often want to sing. Montana DeRupo.
After you heard me, not often do I want to sing either.
I might not want to listen either.
I think I sound good, but it's not quite that way.
But you threw it right out there on social media. You weren't,
Yeah.
That's brave. Did you have what, 500,000 followers? It's a lot of people.
Yeah, about 520,000, I think.
It's a lot of people listening to you sing.
Those are the dog days of spring training.
Yes, they are. I believe that was my response on social media, because I was up north and I saw that. I said, this is what happens when you've been in Florida too long.
You know what? I did see that. Do you know that I don't have a phone today?
Yeah, I am aware of that.
It's killing me.
Which is why you didn't tell me what color to wear this morning when I texted you.
My phone blew up yesterday. I have no phone, no communication with the outside world.
Great thing is it blew up because you were trying to upgrade it, right?
Yeah.
You were trying to, be tech savvy. This is a base hit. Nope. Fly ball out, caught by Polo out of right field.
It's like when you put the phone on, there's a little red circle, and it says upgrade. So you push it.
Sure.
And your phone just...
Right. Trying to do the right thing. Trying to, hit. Yeah. And now I can't call you.
Now, seeing I don't know my password or ID number, that didn't help either. So it's just about impossible to get back on.
And you don't know anybody's number because they're all programmed in your contacts. Right.
I mean, I would have got a new phone. Problem is, I couldn't get all the information.
You couldn't do anything with it because you don't know anybody's number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress.
As a public service, if anybody's been trying to get a hold of Jerry Remy today, he's not being rude.
No.
Just doesn't have a phone. Because I thought you were being rude. Because twice I texted you. What
you did?
Go with? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I
just figured. I know this year you don't think we have to match with the shirts. Well, so I thought that was a purpose pitch. You were just telling me, stop worrying about the little things, kid. Get up here and do the game. I was saying, what color should we be wearing and getting nothing in return?
No, it was not on purpose because it blew up about yesterday afternoon. So
I look back. One of the last things you had texted me was, "No, we don't have to match. Doesn't matter."
Yeah, I think we're fine. I mean,
but see, I gave you that much credit. I actually thought not replying today was sending me a message.
No,
you're in my head, Jerry. I was like thinking over your point. I hope Jerry's not upset. I was asking him what color shirt. A little flare and a catch there by Harrison. But it's your phone. No phone.
No, my wife's being very diligent in trying to get this thing fixed because if I get home tonight and I don't have the phone, I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's going to be a long drive to Sarasota tomorrow.
And I'm a guy that never carried a phone before. I never did. I never answered it. Never. But now it's like you can't live without it.
Right.
Their phone's working. It didn't go off the deep end like mine did.
And I know you couldn't get an update on how it was going because you don't know your wife's phone number. Like you wanted to use my phone to check in.
I actually had Garen use Garen's phone to call my phone so my wife would answer to see if anything's going on with my phone, but nothing's going on.
No answer, so that's not good. This is Henry Ramos out ahead of that. As Durapo tries to make it a quick inning here in the eighth, get his team up there for one last chance. Swing and a miss there. Cutter from Durapo. Just missing inside. Durapo took a couple steps towards the dugout.
The umpires don't like that when you do it. Let me call the pitch. You can see the catcher really kind of pulling that back into the inside corner. And that may be the reason he didn't get the call.
Just foul down the first base line. Jordan's Furniture is the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. Right now, get up to 60 months with no interest on anything at Jordan's Furniture. Furnish one room or your entire home, and best of all, you get to enjoy it right now. Visit Jordans.com for details.
I babysat your kids. You used to play ball.
Top of the eighth here in Fort Myers. Red Sox leading at 6-3. 2 down, nobody on, a 2-2 pitch. Bottom of the eighth, beg your pardon. Red Sox batting. As Ramos fouls that off. "10 days away from opening day 2016. Facing Terry Francona's Cleveland Indians. A week later, Red Sox home. Fenway Park opener on the 11th. Fly ball from Ramos. Back right field. Making the catch back there is Polo to end the inning. So the Red Sox Heading to the ninth here at JetBlue Park, 6-3 Red Sox leading the Pirates tonight at 10 on NESN Sports Today. Jack, Brick, and Billy examine the controversial no-goal that played a pivotal role in the Bees' loss last night. Plus, highlights from Hockey East teams as they play in the NCAA tournament. NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. See what know-how can do. Matt Barnes back out here for the ninth inning. Big double play to end the eighth. Polo up for his fourth at-bat of the game, 2 for 3. Yeah, we've had some fans here down below us at JetBlue saying Marco whenever Polo comes up to bat. Get in the spirit of things. Polo fouls it off. He's had a nice night, though, hasn't he, Jerry? 2 for 3.
Yeah, he has. And, like I said, a guy that didn't expect to probably be in this game tonight by any means. And because of the scratch of McCutchen, he gets a chance to come down and has had a very, very good night. Go back to minor league camp tomorrow and tell all those guys, it's just not that tough up there.
You can do it. I did it. Single and a double off David Price. An RBI double was the first run of the night. Swing and a miss here, so Barnes strikes him out.
That's a good breaking ball right there by Barnes. That's probably the best one he's featured so far in the game tonight. It dipped out of the strike zone down low. And got Polo to chase it. So a good curveball there from Matt Barnes. .96 on the fastball from Barnes. Barnes, the former Yukon Husky. Escobar grounds to short. Second out of the ninth inning. Red Sox spring training baseball is live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay connected all spring with radio broadcasts, highlights, stats, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone and tablet today. 2 down now in the ninth inning is the Red Sox. Trying to finish things off, make it a 4-game winning streak here in Grapefruit League play. This is Eric Weiss trying to keep this game going. Barnes trying to make it 2 scoreless innings of relief. David Price pitched into the 6th inning. 2 earned runs allowed. Swing and a miss there. So Barnes 1 strike away. That's the third pitch right there for Barnes. A changeup, so the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup all featured in his 2 innings of work tonight, or almost 2 innings.
Barnes deals, swing and a miss, strike 3, and that'll do it. 2 scoreless innings of work from Matt Barnes, and a 6-3 win for the Red Sox here at JetBlue Park. They have won 5 of 7 Grapefruit League games. 2 hours and 56 minutes, the total time of this one. The Red Sox beating the Pirates. Final score for the final time. Boston 6, Pittsburgh 3. We are back at it tomorrow, 1 o'clock our start. The Red Sox and Orioles live from Sarasota. Join us then for Jerry Remy and our terrific NESN broadcasting crew. I'm Tom Caron saying thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.